The stage lights were brighter than usual tonight, or perhaps it was just the flutter of nerves in my stomach making everything seem more intense. As I adjusted the lapel of my costume backstage, the familiar buzz of an opening night hummed through the air. I was playing the lead in a modern revival of a classic play, a role I had prepared for months. This performance was meant to be the pinnacle of my acting career thus far. The murmurs of the arriving audience filtered backstage, a blend of excitement and expectation. Among them, I knew, was my wife, Clara. She had promised she'd be here, front and center, to see me perform. Our marriage had been rocky lately, her late nights and unexplained absences planting seeds of doubt in my mind, but tonight was supposed to be a reaffirmation of everything. I wanted to believe that after tonight, things would start to mend. The curtain rose, and the bright lights blinded me for a moment. I launched into my monologue, the words flowing from me with practiced ease. I scanned the crowd subtly during a quieter moment, and there she was, Clara, looking radiant as ever. But she wasn't alone. Beside her was a man I had never seen before, whispering in her ear, making her laugh. My heart sank. She hadn't mentioned bringing anyone else. As the play progressed, I struggled to keep my focus. The scenes blurred together, my lines were automatic, but my mind was on Clara and the stranger. Intermission arrived, and I peered from the wings. That's when I saw it. Clara leaned in and kissed him, right there in the dim glow of the theatrical lights. It was a brief kiss, but unmistakable. A jolt of betrayal stabbed through me. Backstage, my fellow actors congratulated each other on a good first half, but I felt numb. The betrayal played on loop in my mind. She was cheating on me. Everything clicked into place, the late nights, the secrecy, her detachment. It wasn't just paranoia. It was real. Fueled by a mix of heartbreak and anger, I decided then and there she would not get away with this. Clara, with her budding career in public relations, relied heavily on her reputation. If the world saw her through my eyes, it would crumble. I returned to the stage with a new fire. My performance was no longer just about the play, it was a channel for my anger, my pain. I would win the audience tonight, win the accolades, and then I would use my newfound standing to dismantle her. The curtain fell to thunderous applause. I took my bows, my eyes meeting Clara's. There was pride in her eyes, unaware of the storm that was coming. As she clapped, the man beside her joined in, his presence a sharp reminder of my resolve. Tonight was just the beginning. Clara's deception would be her downfall. I would make sure of it. As the audience filed out, I made my way to the dressing room, my mind racing with plans. This was more than just a performance now. It was personal, and I was not going to lose. After the performance, the energy backstage is electric, everyone basking in the success of the night. I weave through the congratulating bodies, my smile plastered on, but inside, the gears of retribution are already turning. I find Clara waiting for me outside the dressing room, her companion now conspicuously absent. Her eyes light up as she sees me, completely oblivious to the storm brewing inside me. "Darling, you were magnificent," she exclaims, reaching for a hug. I stiffen, but let her embrace me. "Who was your friend?" I ask casually as we break apart. Her face falters for a moment, a flicker of guilt, perhaps. "Oh, just a client from work. Tom's his name. He's been wanting to see the play for weeks," she replies too quickly, her eyes darting away. "Interesting," I murmur, the plan forming clearer in my mind. "I'd love to meet him properly. Why don't we invite him to dinner?" Clara looks surprised but nods. "Sure, that could be nice." Over the next few days, I put my plan into action. I start by reaching out to a few contacts who work in the same circles as Clara. Casual coffees and seemingly innocent questions. I gather bits of information about Tom, enough to know he's more than just a client. The dinner is set for Friday night at our home. Clara is nervous, I can tell. She flits around the kitchen, preparing everything to perfection. Tom arrives on time, suave and smiling, bringing a bottle of expensive wine as a peace offering. Tom, great to finally meet you properly, I say, shaking his hand with a firm grip. We settle into the evening, and I play the part of the gracious host, all the while watching them interact with a hawk's eye. As we sit down to eat, I steer the conversation. So, Tom, Clara tells me you're in public relations as well? Yes, Tom says, taking a sip of his wine. Been in it for about 5 years now. It's a challenging field, but rewarding. I can imagine. Must be a lot of delicate situations to handle, I say pointedly, watching Clara squirm slightly. Tom laughs. You could say that. It's all about maintaining the right image, isn't it? Exactly, I reply, locking eyes with Clara. Image is everything. The dinner continues with light conversation, but I plant seeds of doubt, alluding subtly to trust and loyalty. After Tom leaves, Clara turns to me, a line between her brows. Is everything okay? You seemed a bit off tonight, she says. Just thinking about how things aren't always what they seem, I say cryptically, leaving her to ponder my words. As I lay in bed later, I feel a cold satisfaction. The first phase of my plan is in place. I know what I need to do next. Clara's career and her betrayal will soon be public knowledge. I will ensure her facade is shattered, just as she shattered my trust. This is only the beginning. The morning light filters through the blinds, casting long shadows across the bedroom floor. Today is the day I've been preparing for, the day Clara's world begins to unravel. As I sip my coffee, I go over my plan once more, ensuring every detail is in place. I leave the house under the pretense of another rehearsal, but instead, I head to the office of an old friend who now runs a popular local blog. He owes me a favor, a big one, and today, I plan to cash it in. Hey, Mike, thanks for meeting me on such short notice, I say as I enter his cluttered office. Anything for a star of the stage, Mike replies with a grin. What's so urgent? I lean in, lowering my voice. I have a story for you. One that involves infidelity, deceit, and a high-profile PR guru. Mike's eyes widen, his interest piqued. Go on. I lay out the details, providing him with enough information about Clara and Tom, their affair, and how it started at her firm. I watch as Mike scribbles notes, his expression turning serious. This could be big, he says, looking up. But are you sure about this? It's pretty nuclear. I've never been more certain, I assert. It's time everyone saw the real Clara. Mike nods, understanding the gravity of the situation. I'll need some solid proof to run this. Got anything concrete? Texts, emails, I have them all. She was careless, perhaps thinking I'd never suspect, I explain, handing over a flash drive. It's all there. All right. I'll have my team verify everything. If it checks out, we go live tomorrow morning, Mike decides. Leaving his office, a part of me feels a twinge of regret, the finality of my actions settling in. But it's quickly overshadowed by a stronger feeling of vindication. The next day, I watch as the story explodes online, spreading like wildfire across social media. The article details Clara's affair with Tom, backed by indisputable proof. The comment section fills with shock and disdain, her professional image crumbling by the second. Clara calls me repeatedly, but I ignore her calls. By mid-afternoon, I can't delay the inevitable confrontation any longer. I head home, ready to face the aftermath. As I open the door, Clara rushes towards me, her eyes wild with fear and anger. How could you? She cries out. You destroyed everything. You did that all by yourself, I reply coldly. I just shed light on it. We could have fixed this. We could have talked about it, she insists, tears streaming down her face. There's no fixing betrayal, I say, my voice steady despite the chaos. You made your choice, and now you live with the consequences. Clara collapses onto the sofa, sobbing uncontrollably. I look at her, the woman I once loved, now a stranger consumed by her own deceit. I want a divorce, I state plainly. I'll have my lawyer contact you. With that, I turn and walk away, leaving Clara to her shattered world. As I close the door behind me, I feel a release, a freedom from the web of lies and betrayal. My path forward is clear, and for the first time in months, I feel in control of my own destiny. The retribution is complete, but the rebuilding of my life is just beginning. The city is quiet as I drive under the cover of the early morning darkness. The revelations of Clara's deceit have set the stage for the final act of my retribution. The public disgrace was just the beginning. Now, I'm ready to ensure that Clara and Tom can never rebuild what they've destroyed. My first stop is at the office of a private investigator I hired weeks ago when my suspicions first began. He hands me a thick envelope as I enter, his expression somber. "Everything you asked for is in here," he says, handing it over. "Bank statements, assets, all of it." "Good work," I reply, thumbing through the documents. "With these, I can hit them where it hurts, their careers and finances." I spend the day making calls and sending emails, all meticulously planned. By the time I'm done, Clara's professional network is buzzing with the news of her misconduct, backed by hard evidence of her mishandling clients' affairs. Similarly, I ensure that Tom's major clients receive anonymous tips about his unethical behavior. That evening, as the sun sets casting long shadows over the city, I drive to the venue of a major industry event where Clara and Tom are scheduled to speak. Knowing they'll both be there, confronting their professional community, is the final piece of my plan. I arrive just in time to see Clara stepping out of her car, looking distraught but composed. Tom is not far behind, his face hard and unreadable. They spot me, and for a moment, the world stands still. "Did you really think you could get away with it?" I shout from across the parking lot, my voice loud enough to turn heads. Clara starts to approach me. "We need to talk." No more talking, I cut her off, stepping forward to meet them halfway. "You've both made your beds. Now, lie in them." Before they can respond, I turn to the gathering crowd, pulling out the documents. "This is who your esteemed speakers really are," I announce, waving the papers. "Ask them about their affairs, both personal and financial." The crowd murmurs, their eyes shifting from me to Clara and Tom. Flashing cameras and whispered conjectures fill the air as the seeds of doubt find fertile ground. Clara's face is pale, her eyes darting around as if looking for an escape. Tom looks defeated, his shoulders slumped as he reads the crowd's changing expressions. "This is your legacy," I say to them, my voice low and fierce. I leave them standing there, the weight of public judgment closing in around them. As I walk away, the cool evening air feels like a balm. The drive back home is quiet, the streets empty and dark. Weeks later, the divorce papers are signed, and the last ties that bind me to Clara are cut. I hear through the grapevine that Clara has moved out of the city, her reputation in ruins. Tom, too, has disappeared from the public eye, his career shattered. In the solitude of my now quiet home, I pour myself a drink, the ice clinking softly against the glass. I look around, the shadows of my former life still lingering in the corners. The revenge was total, ruthless, but not without cost. I realize that the emptiness I feel isn't just the absence of Clara, it's the absence of who I was before all this. As I sip my drink, I consider the road ahead. It's time to rebuild, to find something beyond the wreckage of betrayal. With a deep breath, I turn away from the past, ready to step into a new role, on a new stage, in a story yet to be written. The final curtain on Clara and Tom's deceit has fallen, and the next act is mine alone to define.